Imagine this, a city with no soldiers, no defenses, no gates. Just one man, sitting on the walls, playing a flute. Below him, an army of 150,000 battle-hardened warriors approaches, ready to crush everything in their path. And instead of panicking, instead of fleeing, instead of surrendering, he simply smiles and keeps playing. That man was Zhuge Liang, the strategist so terrifyingly calm that an entire army turned around and walked away. This is the story of the general who won a war by doing nothing. In this video, we're diving into one of the greatest psychological victories in military history, a moment where logic, bravery, and traditional strategy collapsed in front of pure, unshakable patience. You're about to uncover the mind of Zhuge Liang, the most brilliant strategist of the Three Kingdoms era. The situation that forced him to defend a city with no soldiers, the impossible decision he made, and the surprising reason why a massive army retreated from a single unarmed man. By the end, you'll see why real power isn't always loud, fast, or aggressive. Sometimes, power is the ability to remain calm when every instinct screams to run. Let's break down the art of patience through the story of the Empty City Stratagem. To understand how one moment of stillness stopped a massive army, we need the full context. China's Three Kingdoms period, 220 to 280 CE, was one of the most brutal eras in history. Warlords fought for control of a fractured empire. Armies clashed by the hundreds of thousands. Cities fell overnight. Leaders were assassinated, betrayed, and outmaneuvered in a constant game of survival. And in the middle of this chaos stood one man, Zhuge Liang, the sleeping dragon, a strategist, inventor, engineer, and diplomat, a man so respected that even his enemies feared his mind more than his army. But even the greatest minds face impossible moments, and Zhuge Liang's moment came at the fortress city of Xicheng. After a long campaign, Zhuge Liang's forces were stretched thin. Most of his troops marched elsewhere to defend other fronts, leaving him with a handful of old guards and civilians. Suddenly, scouts rushed in with a nightmare message. General Sima Yi is approaching with 150,000 elite soldiers. Sima Yi was no ordinary enemy. He was ruthless, calculating, and one of the few men alive who matched Zhuge Liang's intelligence. And he was marching straight toward a city that was essentially empty. Zhuge Liang faced three choices: fight, impossible; flee, certain death; surrender, the end of his state. Logic said he was doomed. But strategy? Strategy had one more card to play. Zhuge Liang ordered all gates to be opened, all banners lowered, all armed guards to disappear, and civilians to continue walking calmly like nothing was wrong. To any observer, it looked like a peaceful, unprotected city. Then Zhuge Liang climbed to the top of the city wall, sat by the gate, lit incense, and began to play his flute. Imagine the scene: a silent city, a lone man, and no soldiers in sight, and the eerie sound of a flute drifting across the valley. This wasn't bravery, this was psychological warfare. He knew Sima Yi respected him. He knew Sima Yi feared traps. And Zhuge Liang bet everything on that fear. When Sima Yi arrived, he expected archers, catapults, ambushes, defenses, and military chaos. But instead, he saw Zhuge Liang relaxed, smiling, and playing music. Sima Yi froze. His generals urged him, "Attack now, the city is undefended." But Sima Yi refused. He believed the calm was a trap. He believed Zhuge Liang was luring him into an ambush. He believed that the mastermind would never act this casually unless tens of thousands of hidden soldiers were waiting inside. Zhuge Liang didn't raise a hand. He didn't order an attack. He didn't even stand. He just kept playing. Minutes turned into hours, and fear began to spread through Sima Yi's army. Finally, Sima Yi made his decision: retreat. He turned around and withdrew all 150,000 soldiers. Zhuge Liang had done the impossible. He won a battle without lifting a weapon. But why did this work? The psychology behind the victory. This wasn't luck. This wasn't magic. This was pure strategy rooted in human psychology. Here are the core elements that made it succeed. 1. Reputation is a weapon. Zhuge Liang had spent years building a reputation for brilliance, a history of unconventional tactics, a fear in the minds of his enemies. Your reputation works for you, even when you're silent. 2. Patience creates uncertainty. Zhuge Liang didn't panic. He didn't rush. He waited. And that stillness forced Sima Yi to think, doubt, and hesitate, the most dangerous emotions in war. 3. Confidence is contagious, but so is fear. When a leader shows no fear, the enemy begins to imagine dangers that don't exist. Zhuge Liang weaponized the imagination of his opponents. 4. The biggest battles happen in the mind. There was no trap, no ambush, no secret army. Just a man who understood that the human mind is the real battlefield. 6. The art of patience, a lesson beyond war, non-audible. Zhuge Liang's victory teaches a universal principle. Sometimes doing nothing is the most strategic move you can make. In life, people often rush. Rush to reply, rush to fight, rush to prove themselves, or rush to act out of fear. But the greatest power is the ability to stay calm when others can't. Patience isn't laziness. Patience is strategy. Patience is mastery over instinct. Patience is choosing not to react until the right moment. Zhuge Liang defended a city with nothing but patience and presence. And it worked. The Empty City Strategy remains one of the most legendary moments in military history, a reminder that the strongest weapon is often the mind, not the sword. Zhuge Liang proved that calmness under pressure is not weakness, it's dominance. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, and comment to support us. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the quietest man in the room is the most dangerous.